I left my husband after he went broke. Now, a little background story. I've been with Victor for 6 years and we've been married for 4 years. When I met him, he was working in his father's company. He was a great guy and he knew how to have a good time. His dad was rich and because of that, he always had money in his pocket. He lived a luxurious life and after I started dating him, he made sure I had the best of everything. We got married and we had 2 beautiful kids together. Everything was great till he had a falling out with his father. His father ended up disowning him. He cut him off from his company and all his bank accounts, which left him with nothing. He has always been used to the good life, so a few months after this, he went into depression. I tried everything I could to get him out of it. We had 2 kids who needed to be fed. I was working alright, but my income was not enough for the whole family. I just wanted him to get out of his phone, get a job to cater for his family. But nothing I did worked. Then I realized that the small money I was making was going missing. The kids were too little to steal, so it was definitely their father stealing money from me. When I asked him about it, he denied it at first, but later admitted he was the one stealing my money. I begged and begged him to go apologize to his father. I didn't even know what caused the rift between them. I just wanted things to go back to the way it used to be. But my husband is a very stubborn man and full of pride. He refused to go speak to his father, so I went behind his back. And his father said if his son cannot come to him and apologize, there's nothing he can do for his family. At this point, my husband was drinking non-stop and I just couldn't take it anymore. I packed my things and left my mom's house with the kids. He tried to get me to come back several times, but I told him I'll only come back when he's ready to take care of his family. Now, fast forward 6 months after this, his father died, and he left almost everything to my husband. After his funeral, my husband called me and asked me to come home. He apologized for acting childish and told me everything will be okay now. He was literally a millionaire now, so I knew everything would be alright. But the problem is now his mom. His mom is calling me a gold digger. She said I left her son when he was vulnerable and needed me the most. She said I don't deserve a son and that I'm only with him because of his money. I've tried to explain why I left to her several times, but she just doesn't want to listen. She said marriage is for better and for worse, and that I left her son when things got worse, so I don't deserve to be with him now that things are better. She said she'll do everything in her power to separate me from her son. Am I really the one at fault here? I was literally the one taking care of the kids after my husband lost his job, and he did nothing to help me. He just slept and stole my money, and I still stayed with him. I only left when he started drinking every day. I just couldn't take it anymore. Am I really the asshole for leaving my husband when he got broke? This follower needs your opinions, babes. Please drop some below.
Am I the arsehole for telling my parents the truth about my sister's fiance? So I have a stepsister and we'll call her Jen. Mine and Jen's parents got together when we were teenagers and we just never clicked. I don't have anything against her or anything, we just aren't that close. So from the ages of 22 to 26, I worked at my stepdad's company. Jen worked there too, and she actually still does. Whilst I was there, I started to get friendly with this guy, we'll call him Pete. And whilst I was there, everyone would joke about Pete having a bit of like a crush on me. I literally never saw him like that, so I didn't think anything of it. And I obviously never even thought that it was a possibility. However, when I started dating my now husband, things started to get a little bit awkward between me and Pete. So eventually I got a new job and went somewhere else, and me and Pete didn't stay in contact. A few months later, I see that him and Jen have started to date on Pete's social media. And then he and Jen got engaged this time last year. And my stepdad has actually agreed to pay for the wedding. A few weeks ago, an old colleague of mine got married. So me, Jen, Pete, and my parents all went to the wedding together. And safe to say, Pete got a little bit over-friendly at the reception. To be honest, I just put this down to him having drank a little bit too much alcohol. However, later in the evening, I was outside just getting some air. I made it very clear to Pete that I felt very uncomfortable, so I just went back inside. The next day I woke up feeling ridiculously awkward, so I decided to call Jen and tell her everything that had happened. Jenny then tried to accuse me of ruining her relationship. She then said to not make anything worse and to not tell our stepdad, since I'd already done enough. I agreed because I didn't really feel like I had any right to continue to be a spanner in the works. So a week ago, I was on FaceTime to my parents and we got talking about Jen's wedding. My face must have changed when they were talking about Pete, because they immediately asked what was wrong. I insisted there was nothing, but they said that they had seen the way Pete was acting towards me and that he'd been following me all around the wedding and that other people had caught on to it as well. After about 20 minutes of them thinking the worst that could have happened, I told them the truth. I literally begged them not to do or say anything because him and Jen were really good now, but he did end up calling Jen and they had the biggest argument. He refused to pay for the wedding and he even said that he wouldn't even go to the wedding. So since then, Jen has been borderline harassing me, texting me, calling me, posting on social media about how much of a bad person I am. I even had some of their work friends text me and say that I had probably ruined Pete's career now. I kept trying to explain that if I'd have not told them, the consequences would have been a lot worse. But Apparently, I should have just been able to hide the whole thing. Friends keep saying that I've done nothing wrong, but the whole wedding is cancelled now and my stepdad isn't talking to Jen anymore. So what do you think? Am I wrong for not being upset that my friend's dog could die because of me? So this weekend I threw a garden party and I invited all of my friends and their partners. One of my friends, we'll call her Amy, takes her dog literally everywhere with her. I told her when I invited her that there'd be no pets allowed, considering that I had cats and they didn't really like any other animals. So fast forward to the garden party and Amy turns up with her dog. I very politely reminded her that no dogs were welcome in my home or in my garden. And I asked her to please take her dog elsewhere. So I went back inside to sort some bits and I thought that Amy had left. So when I came back out to the garden, Amy was just stood there still chatting with some of our friends. And she does not live close to me, so I was very confused. So I went over to her and I was like, Amy girl, where's your dog? And she just shrugged her shoulders and said that she didn't know where her dog was. Then very passive aggressively went on to say that she was only popping in since her dog was not welcome anymore. So I went looking for this dog and I found him at the bottom of my garden eating some of my plants. And he was just making a big old mess. I was quite frankly fuming and told Amy to escort herself and her dog off my property. So a few hours go by and she calls me and asks me what her dog had ate. And obviously I had no clue. I literally have a gardener who deals with everything and I just look at them and think it all looks really pretty. I did tell her though where I found him, that obviously he was eating my plants and making a mess. She started screaming down the phone at me to find out what her dog had eaten because he was now sick. I texted my gardener and asked what it could be that the dog had eaten. Unfortunately, he didn't reply and Amy called me a little bit later and was telling me that I obviously don't care if her dog was to die. My gardener still hasn't replied to me, so we still don't know. However, I don't feel like it's my responsibility that all this has happened after I told her multiple times that I didn't want her dog on my property. So what do you think?
Am I wrong for returning a birthday gift I got from my boyfriend after he insulted me about my colorful past? Okay, warning, I already read this one, okay? And this one is gonna piss you guys off. I'm just letting you know. This happened last night, but my phone is still blowing up. I, 26 female, dipped into my savings and got my boyfriend Mike, 27, a PS5 for his birthday. He knew he was getting a PS5 because he told me that the PS5 is the only thing he wants. We've been together for 4 years, so the cost didn't matter. That is, until I found out what he thinks about me. Some background. When I was 18, I was involved with Jake, a guy who I met online. We ended things after 3 months and I moved on shortly after with Adam, a guy from work. I found out a couple of months later that Jake and Adam were actually really close friends, but I didn't know Jake long enough to meet his friend group, so I had no idea. After finding out, I took some time off dating and 2 years later, I met my current boyfriend, Mike. I was upfront and honest with Mike about my past and the fact that I was unintentionally involved with friends. He said he understood and my past didn't bother him. Last night at his party, I showed up with the PS5 and him and his friends were screaming with joy. His best female friend, Jessica, laughed and said, "I wish I was a thought so I could afford a PS5 too." Oh my god, I'm getting mad reading this over again. I looked at her with an "excuse me" look on my face and she just said, "Never mind," and walked away. I confronted my boyfriend about it and he said, I quote, "She's just messing with you. You can't take a joke?" I'm sorry, jokes shouldn't disrespect your girlfriend. So I pushed further as to why this girl is even calling me names to begin with and he said, "Well, everyone knows you were a thought before you met me." I told you guys. I told you it was going to piss you off. I asked him to explain how I was a thought before him and he said, "You know, messing with best friends." He then patted me on the shoulder and said that it's okay because I'm not who I was back then and if he could get over my colorful past and thought mentalities to give me a chance, then I could get over Jessica's comments and give her another chance. I didn't say anything. I just got up, took the PS5 from the gift table and left. He was pissed. He literally called me like 20 times, but I didn't care. I was so hurt that I took the bow off the gift and took it straight back to the store I got it from. They happily refunded it. I thought that was done, but Mike and all of his friends, including Jessica, are berating me for being petty and they're all saying I brought this on myself by making poor choices. I responded to Mike and told him that he deserves better than me, so find someone who wasn't a thought and get a PS5 from them because I returned it. He started screaming how I'm the biggest asshole for returning it and how I should be happy he ignored my colorful past. I'm thinking maybe taking it back went too far. So am I the asshole? Homegirl, no. You need to run this. Okay, there's so many things I want to touch up on here, but I'm trying to make it fast. One, that is not the definition of a colorful past, okay, at all. 2, it speaks volumes on his character that when you did tell him this in secrecy and confidence, that he spilled it all to his friends. If you loved and cared for someone, you would never spread that kind of information on them. 3, the fact that he has a girl best friend, I don't believe in that shit. She wants your man.